There are moments in life when you look around and realize not everyone who smiles at you carries light in their soul. Some people look pure on the surface, but deep within there is darkness that breeds deceit, envy, and destruction. Evil is not always loud. Evil can wear perfume. Evil can speak softly. Evil can sit beside you at your table and still be plotting your downfall. So today I must tell you with a voice filled with fire from God, you must learn how to spot an evil person before they destroy the destiny that God has placed in your life. There are those who drain you not because you wronged them, but because they cannot stand the light of God inside you. They sense your purpose. They feel your divine calling, and it irritates the demons within them. Evil people are not defined by their looks. They are defined by their spiritful. And when your spirit walks with God, you begin to discern what the naked eye cannot see. My friend, not every person who shakes your hand is sent by God. Some are sent to delay, distract, and destroy. The most dangerous evil is not in the world around you. It is in the hearts of those who hide behind masks. They will say, "I am with you," but their actions will say otherwise. Evil people are actors on the stage of life pretending to support you while secretly rejoicing in your pain. And until you open your spiritual eyes, you will keep inviting them into your inner circle, wondering why your peace is gone and your energy is drained. When God wants to bless you, He sends people. But when the enemy wants to destroy you, he also sends people. That's why discernment is not an option, it is a necessity. You cannot just look at someone's words. You must feel their spirit, because a wicked person can mimic kindness. They can imitate humility, but they cannot fake divine peace. Evil souls carry restlessness. Their presence feels heavy. Their words feel manipulative, and their energy leaves confusion instead of clarity. Evil does not always come with violence. Sometimes it comes in silence. It hides behind smiles, flattery, and fake concern. When an evil person speaks, there's a subtle undertone. An unspoken desire to see you fail, acquired pleasure when you suffer. They disguise jealousy as advice and hatred as honesty. They will say, "I'm only being real with you." But their realism is laced with poison. Watch carefully, because the devil never comes as a monster. He comes as comfort. He comes as understanding. He comes as the person you least expect. An evil person cannot stand the progress of others. The moment God lifts you, their true colors begin to surface. They suddenly grow distant. They stop celebrating you. Their smiles become thinner. They speak less about your blessings and more about your flaws. They look for mistakes to discredit your growth. You must understand, evil cannot coexist with divine favor. The brighter your light shines, the more their darkness is exposed. That is why sometimes God allows certain people to turn against you. Not because He wants to hurt you, but because He wants to reveal who they really are. When someone consistently tries to make you doubt yourself, that's not correction. That's corruption. Evil people are masters at twisting your confidence into guilt. They make you apologize for your light. They make you question your worth. They make you shrink your spirit to make them feel comfortable. But listen to me, when God created you, He never intended for you to dim your light for anyone. And any person who feels threatened by your light is not of God. Evil is clever. It moves with strategy. It studies your weaknesses. It pretends to love your strengths. Evil will never attack you openly. It will whisper, manipulate, and then slowly poison your trust. They will call you brother, sister, friend, while their spirit plots against your peace. But God gives signs. You will feel discomfort. You will feel drained. You will sense something is off. Never ignore that inner signal that is God warning you that an evil presence is near. There is a heaviness that evil people carry. When they enter a room, peace leaves. You may not understand why, but suddenly you feel anxious, irritated, or tired. That is spiritual warfare. You must be sensitive enough to recognize that not every human presence is harmless. Evil people carry invisible toxins, not physical ones, but spiritual ones that contaminate the atmosphere. You walk away from them and feel like you've lost your joy. That's not coincidence. That's contamination. Protect your peace with prayer and distance. Evil thrives in excess, but loses its power when ignored. You can spot an evil person by what they celebrate. When someone laughs at another's failure, when they find joy in gossip, when they feed off other people's pain, that is evil disguised as entertainment. Godly souls mourn for others. Evil souls mock others. Watch what makes them happy, and you'll know what kind of heart they have. because darkness delights in destruction, but light rejoices in restoration. Another sign of evil is manipulation through guilt. Evil people will twist your kindness into obligation. They'll say, "After everything I've done for you," not because they care, but because they want control. They keep score not out of love, but to keep you bound in debt. Evil thrives on emotional leverage. It uses your compassion as a weapon against you. But God never blesses manipulation. He blesses sincerity, humility, and truth. Evil people rarely take responsibility. They deflect, project, and accuse. When caught, they turn the tables, making the victim look guilty. They live in denial because accepting truth would mean facing judgment. They cannot repent because pride blinds them. Yet they present themselves as righteous. That's why you must never judge people by how religious they sound or how humble they appear. Judge them by the fruit of their life, because even a tree that stands tall can be rotten at the root. An evil person cannot keep peace for long. Their relationships collapse, their friendships turn bitter. Their homes are filled with arguments. They carry chaos wherever they go because their spirit is unsettled. Evil cannot sustain harmony. It thrives only in conflict. Watch closely. If someone's presence constantly brings division, confusion, or pain, that is not just a personality issue. That is a spiritual issue. God is not the author of confusion. So anyone who continually breeds it is walking far from his light. Evil people are often attracted to the kind-hearted. They see compassion as weakness, mercy as opportunity. That's why the kindest souls are often the most wounded. You were targeted not because you were foolish, but because your heart was pure. Evil cannot survive where there is love, so it tries to corrupt love from within. But God will never allow pure hearts to remain broken forever. He exposes evil in time. Every hidden agenda will come to light when the season of revelation arrives. The key to spotting evil is not suspicion. It is discernment. Suspicion comes from fear. Discernment comes from God. Suspicion judges without evidence. Discernment feels what the eyes cannot see. It's that divine awareness that whispers to your spirit, "Something is not right here." Never silence that voice. Never reason away your intuition. When God is speaking through it, evil is patient. It waits for moments of weakness. But those who walk with God are never without warning. Evil speaks much, but says little. It flatters, but never uplifts. It promises, but never delivers. It surrounds you when you have something to offer, then disappears when you need help. It is loyal to benefit, not to relationship. Evil does not know the meaning of sacrifice. And yet, God allows such people to cross your path not to destroy you, but to teach you wisdom. Every evil encounter carries a divine lesson to protect your boundaries, to strengthen your faith, to sharpen your discernment. Sometimes the most dangerous evil hides behind victimhood. They will play the role of the wounded one. Always misunderstood, always wronged, always innocent. But behind that self-pity is manipulation, a calculated move to make you their rescuer. And the moment you rescue them, they drain your energy, twist your words, and leave you feeling guilty for caring. That's the trap of false compassion. Love does not mean allowing evil access to your peace. You can forgive without returning. You can pray for them without reconnecting. Do not mistake sympathy for spiritual duty. God does not call you to save evil. He calls you to separate from it. There are people you must love from afar. There are hearts you must release so yours can heal. Evil people are addicted to attention. The moment you stop feeding them your energy, they lose their grip. Silence becomes your shield. Distance becomes your deliverance because evil cannot survive where it is no longer entertained. Evil hates boundaries because boundaries expose their intentions. When you start saying no, when you stop explaining, when you stop defending your peace, the mask of evil begins to crack. They will call you selfish, proud, or ungrateful. Not because you are wrong, but because you are no longer under their control. Do not be afraid when people mislabel you for protecting your soul. God sees the truth, and the truth is protecting your peace is not pride. It is obedience. Evil thrives on secrecy. It fears exposure. That's why God sometimes shakes your life not to harm you, but to reveal what was hidden. When relationships suddenly end, when friends turn distant, when truth starts surfacing, don't panic. That's not chaos, that's cleansing. God removes people not to punish you, but to purify your path. And when He exposes evil, don't run back out of pity. When God shows you who someone really is, believe it. One of the surest ways to spot evil is through patterns. Evil may change its words, but never its behavior. They repeat the same lies, cause the same pain, create the same drama, because they never truly change. God gives everyone a chance to repent, but an evil heart refuses correction. They justify their actions, twist your forgiveness, and continue their deception. But you must not let compassion blind you to reality. Mercy without wisdom becomes bondage. When God dwells within you, your spirit becomes sensitive. You begin to see beyond words, beyond appearances. You will notice inconsistencies. When someone's tone doesn't match their message, but when their praise feels hollow, when their kindness feels forced, that is not paranoia. That is spiritual perception. God gives his people eyes to see what others ignore. Use them. Don't be afraid to trust what you feel when your spirit senses danger. Evil people cannot celebrate truth. They feel uncomfortable around integrity. They shift topics when confronted with righteousness. They prefer gossip to gratitude, criticism to confession. They are allergic to accountability. Their ego is their god. They crave power, not peace. And yet their downfall always comes through their own pride. God's justice may be silent, but it is never absent. Every evil deed carries its own destruction. You don't have to fight them. Time and truth will expose them. The greatest victory over evil is not revenge. It is release. You defeat evil not by shouting at it, but by refusing to host it. When you stop reacting, when you walk away without hate, when you bless and move on. Evil loses its grip because its power depends on your response. Don't waste energy fighting shadows. Focus on walking in light. God will handle what you cannot. Your role is to stay pure, stay aware, and stay peaceful. Evil may look like it wins for a moment, but God always has the final word. There are people who betrayed you and think they got away, but time will reveal that they only betrayed themselves. God is not mocked. What is sown in deceit will be reaped in destruction. What was stolen will be restored. What was meant to harm you will become your promotion. Because when evil plots, God plans, and his plan always overrides every demonic intention. If you want to spot an evil person, listen to how they speak about others when those people are not present. If they gossip with you, they will gossip about you. If they celebrate others' pain, they will celebrate yours. Their loyalty ends when benefit ends. Godly people protect others in their absence. Evil people destroy reputations for entertainment. Watch the tongue. It is the mirror of the heart. Evil disguises itself well, but it cannot hide forever. It may take months or years, but truth has a sound that cannot be silenced. Every mask will eventually slip. Every lie will eventually contradict itself. God has a way of revealing what was meant to remain hidden. So, do not rush justice. Let time do what your anger cannot. God's timing exposes with precision. My friend, your greatest weapon against evil is spiritual alignment with God. When your heart stays pure, God himself becomes your shield. Evil cannot manipulate a spirit anchored in divine wisdom. That's why you must pray for discernment daily. Not everyone who approaches you is meant to stay. Some are assignments from darkness, distractions in disguise. Ask God to filter your circle. Ask him to remove who cannot go with you into your next season. You must remember this truth. Evil never enters loudly. It seeps in quietly. It starts as flattery, disguised as care, disguised as empathy. But eventually it demands, controls, and destroys. Protect your gates, your eyes, your ears, your heart. What you entertain will soon enter. What you tolerate will soon dominate. And what you ignore will soon corrupt. Guard your spirit fiercely, because evil is subtle but persistent. Evil is not just in others. Sometimes it hides in ourselves. Pride, bitterness, envy, hatred, these are seeds of the same darkness we condemn in others. If you want to spot evil, start by removing its traces from your own heart. The more you purify your soul, the clearer you will see it in others. God reveals the external when the internal is cleansed. Evil cannot fool a heart that has been refined in truth. Evil people may walk freely, but they live bound. Their mind is restless, their conscience heavy, their nights sleepless. Do not envy them. Do not wish them harm. Simply let them go, because in due season, God's justice will visit every deceitful soul. Your duty is not to fight evil with evil, but to rise above it through divine wisdom, silence, and peace. You overcome not by retaliation, but by revelation, by knowing who they are and walking away with dignity. Evil people do not always reveal themselves through open hatred. Sometimes they reveal themselves through false kindness. There is a kindness that comes from the heart, and there is a kindness that comes from calculation. When the heart is aligned with God, kindness flows without expectation. But when the heart is driven by evil, kindness becomes a weapon, a tool to gain trust and to manipulate the innocent. You must learn to watch not only what people give, but why they give. The intention behind an action is often more revealing than the action itself. Evil can give gifts, but the gift will come with a string. It will look generous, but it will carry control. That is why you must let God sharpen your discernment, so that you do not mistake bait for blessing. The most dangerous people are not those who openly oppose you. They are the ones who secretly envy you while pretending to support you. Envy is the silent root of evil. It grows unseen but produces fruits of betrayal, deceit, and sabotage. You must never underestimate the power of jealousy. It can turn a friend into an enemy, a helper into a destroyer, a companion into a competitor. When God begins to favor you, the evil around you becomes restless. Those who once applauded your rise begin to resent your success. But do not fear this exposure, for God is revealing hearts, and every revelation is a protection. When evil people cannot destroy your reputation, they will try to destroy your peace. They will whisper, provoke, and criticize. They will accuse you of arrogance when you are confident, and of weakness when you are humble. Their goal is not to understand you, but to unsettle you. They feed on chaos because their spirit cannot survive in calm. But you must remain unshaken. Do not engage in arguments with those who thrive on negativity. When you respond, you feed them. When you stay silent, you starve them. Let your peace be your protest. Let your stillness be your strength. For silence in the face of evil is not weakness. It is wisdom. Evil people are often skilled in words. They know how to twist truth into confusion. They know how to make lies sound logical. They study your emotions to find your buttons. And once they find them, they press them to control you. That is why you must anchor your mind in the presence of God. When your spirit is grounded in truth, deception cannot easily sway you. When your faith is rooted in God's light, you will sense falsehood before it even speaks. Evil people love to test boundaries. God teaches you how to stand firm. They will keep pushing until you break. But if you stand in divine strength, their pressure will become your training ground. Another mark of an evil person is that they cannot celebrate anyone sincerely. They are quick to criticize, slow to compliment, and incapable of genuine joy for another's blessing. When someone's heart is poisoned by comparison, gratitude cannot survive there. They measure their worth by your progress, and when you rise, they feel reduced. That's why you must never seek validation from people who compete instead of support. The light of God within you will always irritate the darkness in others. Stop trying to make everyone comfortable with your calling. Some people are not meant to understand your purpose. They are meant to reveal their own hearts through their reaction to it. Evil people crave attention because attention feeds their ego. They will play the hero when watched and the villain when unseen. They do not seek truth, they seek applause. They will do good deeds for the sake of recognition, not righteousness. But remember this: God sees what is done in silence, and He exposes what is done in pride. No matter how well evil disguises itself, the time will come when the mask cracks and the true face beneath will be revealed. God's light does not rush, but it never fails. Every secret eventually echoes. Every lie eventually unravels. You don't have to expose evil, truth does it for you. Evil people carry the language of division. They plant seeds of suspicion among families, friends, and communities. They will twist words, exaggerate situations, and distort motives to separate those who stand united. Division is the tool of darkness. Unity is the evidence of divine presence. Wherever gossip multiplies, evil is at work. If you want to identify an evil person, listen carefully to what they say when no one else is around. If their words destroy peace and trust, if their stories always put someone else down, then you are standing in the presence of darkness disguised as friendship. Step away. Peace is the proof of God's presence. Confusion is the mark of evil. Sometimes the evil person is not loud. They are quiet, observant, and strategic. They study your routines, your reactions, your weaknesses. They gather information not to help you, but to use it against you when the time is right. These are the serpents of life, calm, patient, waiting for the perfect strike. But even they are not beyond God's awareness. No plot against you is hidden from the one who watches over your soul. Evil may think it is wise, but its wisdom is foolishness before God. The plans of the wicked may seem strong, but they crumble at the touch of divine truth. Evil people often pretend to have moral superiority. They will point out the flaws of others to distract from their own corruption. They accuse to avoid accountability. They love to speak about justice while practicing deceit. Their righteousness is a performance, their morality a mask. But God weighs the heart, not the words. And when the heart is revealed, the noise of false virtue is silenced by the power of truth. You must learn not to be deceived by appearances. The loudest moralist can be the darkest sinner. The quietest soul can be the purest light. Look not at the speech. Look at the spirit. An evil person cannot forgive. They hold grudges like trophies. They rehearse old offenses and keep them alive to justify their bitterness. They say, "I'm over it." But their actions speak otherwise. Their hearts are logged in resentment because forgiveness requires humility, and humility is foreign to pride. When you meet such people, remember holding on to bitterness poisons the heart, but pretending to have none poisons the soul even deeper. Evil feeds on old wounds. Do not let it infect you. When you forgive, you break the chain that connects you to their darkness. Sometimes evil wears the face of charm. It flatters to gain access, then criticizes to gain control. Charm is not love, it is strategy. A truly good person does not charm, they connect. They do not manipulate, they uplift. Evil people can imitate affection, but they cannot sustain it because real love requires purity, and purity burns them. They will speak with honey, but act with venom. They will give you attention, then withhold it to test your dependence. This is not affection. It is control. Do not confuse inconsistency for mystery. Where there is love, there is peace. Where there is manipulation, there is evil. Though the most painful form of evil is betrayal. It comes not from strangers, but from those who once said they cared. But betrayal is not your defeat. It is your revelation. God allows betrayal to purify your path. Sometimes the hands that feed you are also the hands that bind you. When betrayal happens, do not let bitterness consume you. Let it open your eyes. Those who betrayed you only freed you from future harm. What looked like a wound was a warning. What looked like loss was protection. God removes wrong people through painful exits so that right people can enter through divine timing. Evil often operates through lies. A lie can travel fast, but truth has endurance. Lies must be defended. Truth stands on its own. Lies change shape. Truth remains firm. When someone constantly lies even about small things, know that deception has become their language. Evil cannot survive without falsehood because light destroys its illusion. But God does not need your help to prove the truth. Stay silent and consistent. Time will speak louder than any defense. Those who lie will eventually contradict themselves. Those who live in truth will always stand vindicated. Do not underestimate how much evil hates peace. Evil people cannot rest when they see others calm. They stir problems just to feel relevant. They start conflicts to regain control. They create storms because stillness exposes them. But do not let their turbulence enter your heart. You are not responsible for their unrest. When God is your center, no external chaos can uproot your inner calm. Evil may roar, but it cannot drown out the voice of divine peace within you. You can spot an evil person by how they respond to correction. The humble listen, the wicked react. A wise person reflects, an evil person retaliates. They will twist your concern into offense. They will accuse you of judging them even when you are merely speaking truth. Their pride will not allow them to change because accountability threatens their illusion of control. But God always gives warning before destruction. Those who reject correction reject protection. And in the end, pride always leads evil to its own downfall. Evil never gives without expecting something in return. For it does not know unconditional love, it only knows transaction. You can feel it in the energy. Their gestures are heavy with expectation. They say, "I love you," but mean I own you. They say I you, but never forget the moment to remind you of it. They cannot let go because their ego feeds on power. Do not stay where love feels like a contract. God's love teaches freedom. Where there is manipulation, there is evil masquerading as affection. The deeper truth is this: you will meet evil in many forms, in friends, in workplaces, in families, even in your own thoughts. But every encounter is meant to teach you strength. Evil is not sent to destroy you. It is sent to define you. Without opposition, your discernment cannot grow. Without darkness, your light cannot prove itself. When you face an evil person, do not curse the encounter. Use it as a classroom. Let it teach you how to guard your heart, how to listen to God's whispers, and how to walk away without fear. Do not be surprised if God isolates you. Sometimes he removes you from crowds because he wants to detox your soul from hidden evil. Solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. For God hides you to heal you. And when the time is right, he will surround you with those who match your purity, your peace, and your purpose. Evil cannot enter where divine order reigns. So if people fall away, let them. What leaves your life under God's direction was never meant to stay. One of the greatest weapons against evil is humility. Evil thrives in pride because pride blinds. But humility opens the eyes of the soul. When you stay humble, God fights for you. When you try to fight evil through ego, you lose power. Evil knows how to provoke arrogance, but it cannot handle humility. Humility disarms deceit because it does not react. It reflects. Be strong, but stay humble. Be bold, but stay grounded. When you walk in humility, God lifts you beyond the reach of your enemies. Evil wants reaction, not resolution. The more you respond, the more it feeds. The more you ignore, the more it weakens. That is why God teaches silence, not silence of fear, but silence of faith. When you are silent in the face of slander, it is not because you are powerless. It is because you trust that divine justice is already working. Every evil word spoken against you becomes fuel for your elevation. Every false accusation becomes evidence of your endurance. Stay silent and let God speak in his time. You must learn to love wisely. Love without discernment becomes self-destruction. Loving an evil person does not mean letting them destroy you. You can wish them well without giving them access. You can pray for their change without staying close. Even God withdraws his favor from those who persist in wickedness. Separation is not cruelty, it is clarity. Sometimes you show the greatest love by walking away so both souls can breathe truth again. And remember this, the battle with evil is not always external. Sometimes God shows you evil in others so that you recognize and uproot it within yourself. Pride, resentment, jealousy, and greed are small seeds that can grow into the same darkness. Yeah, you condemn. Keep your heart under constant inspection. Speak to God in honesty. Ask him to cleanse your motives, to purify your desires, to make your spirit untouchable by bitterness. Because when your heart is clean, no evil can manipulate you. You become invisible to their schemes because light recognizes light and darkness cannot comprehend it. When you learn how to spot an evil person, you gain more than awareness. You gain protection. You begin to see who truly walks with God and who merely wears the costume of goodness. You learn not to waste tears over betrayal, not to beg for loyalty from the disloyal, and not to fear the loss of anyone whose heart was never aligned with yours. Evil may walk beside you for a season, but it cannot stay forever. God always separates truth from falsehood, always. And when that separation happens, do not mourn what leaves, celebrate what remains. Because every time evil exits, purity enters. Every time deceit departs, peace returns. Every time a false friend fades away, space opens for divine connection. That is the rhythm of God's refinement. He subtracts before he multiplies. He removes before he restores. And every exposure of evil is not an ending. It is a new beginning for the soul that walks in truth.